Hi, everyone. For those that don't know me, I'm Lynn from Lighthouse Books. Thank you for joining us today to find out more about the ReadCloud platform. If you haven't heard of Lighthouse Books before, we are a wholly South Australian-owned bookseller located on Grange Road, Allenby Gardens, who supply textwork and digital books to schools. We are owned by KW Stationers, who I'm sure you've heard of, who supply all of your stationery needs and have now partnered with Australia's leading digital provider, ReadCloud, to make it an all-inclusive service for your schools. During the presentation, you have a chance to write questions in the chat box that you may have heard Irene talk about, which will be answered as we go along. Also, there will be time at the end of the presentation to ask any further questions. I will now pass you over to Irene, ReadCloud's digital consultant. Take it away, Irene.
Thanks, Lynn. Okay, well, hello to everyone who's here right now, and for those of you who are watching our recording. So today we're just going to talk about ReadCloud, the ebook platform. I'll give you a bit of an overview and introduction of the company, who we are, what we do, and then I'll hopefully be able to give you just a little bit of snippets and demo in terms of what the platform looks like and what it does, and what the experience can be for your teachers and students, okay? So let me just share my screen. All right, so now you should be looking at a ReadCloud presentation that says Rethinking Classroom Resources. If you have any issues viewing this, please just post it in the chat room so Lynn can grab my attention and let me know if there was anyone who's unable to see the presentation. Okay, so first of all, as Lynn mentioned earlier, we are very proud to be partnering with Lighthouse Books. We know that Lighthouse Books and KW Wholesale is a very known brand within the South Australian market, and on a day-to-day basis, I think they deal with hundreds and hundreds of schools around South Australia. And so part of their offering moving forward is now you're able to also use Lighthouse Book services for your back-to-school book listing services. And as part of that, they are using ReadCloud, the ebook platform, to actually serve up all of your digital textbooks. And that includes digital textbooks, e-novels, and any interactive resources or online subscriptions that your school might have. So just a little bit about our company. So ReadCloud is actually a software company based in Melbourne in Victoria. We were founded back in 2009, but just kind of from 2018 onwards, we have really put a big focus on the secondary education market. And so our mission is to help educators make sure that student gets the best education possible. And because of that, as you can see here in the timeline, we've got quite a few different partnerships with principals associations across Australia. And we've also just acquired a few registered training organizations so we can offer high school Cert 2s and Cert 3 vet courses. So that's a separate discussion. So there's two kind of branches of the company. We've got the ReadCloud Direct, which is, so I'm part of the ReadCloud team that handles all the ebook platform and content, curriculum content delivery into classroom. And then we also have a vet department that looks after all of our vet resourcing, auspicing, and compliance services. So if that's an area that you'd be interested in to have a chat with us about, feel free to give me a yell, and then I will put you in touch with our vet specialist, which is not me, unfortunately. Okay, so between ReadCloud Direct and also our vet school, we're in just over 600 schools around Australia. And at any given term time, there's about 110,000 students accessing their resources using ReadCloud. Now, what we're all about really, this whole ReadCloud ebook platform business, basically in simple terms, we really just to make classroom resourcing easy. And so, having spoken to quite a few, sorry, hold on one second. Yeah. So we just want to make kind of accessing classroom resources easy. So having had a chat with quite a few different, resource coordinator, perhaps librarian, book list manager, people who typically deals with resourcing on a day-to-day basis, especially those who really want to transform from or transition, I guess, from more of a printed text model, more and more towards digital. they find that dealing with 5-6 different publishers can be quite confusing, and also the way license terms work, and when do you have to reactivate, how much is the reactivation cost, all that digital licenses, how long does something expire for. Like, it can be really complex. It can be quite complex really, really quickly. And so there's two faults of our services. And when I use the word us or we, I am referring to the partnership between us and Lighthouse Books. And so there's two faults of our services. And so first of all, when you book list, your textbooks requirement to your students, we will handle all the digital activation. So we will no longer rely on the student to activate the code inside the textbook themselves, but we will actually do all that as part of our value-add service to you. And so then, oftentimes we see that when we left the activation to the students, teachers are saying to us that they get a classroom with, a bit of a mismatch. So like some students will have access to the online and some don't. And, we really, really want all students to have equal access to all of their rich resources. And so we are offering that service to actually activate all of the resources that you book list through us. Alternatively, if you have purchased books that are sitting in your book hire loan scheme that you hand out to students every year, there's probably quite a lot of digital licenses there that you can reactivate for a fraction of the cost of the book, or really, really cost economically. We can also help you with all of those activation process. And so again, just kind of wanting to make the process of accessing online content really, really simple for you and your students. Now, the second fault of our services is we then put all of those online content or online textbooks in one app called ReadCloud. And so the app will just make it simple and easy for all of your students to access all of their textbooks. So they can access various different publishers, a whole bunch of online subscriptions and so on and so forth, just from the one app, just making it really, really easy, simple portal that students can go to various different places to access their online resources. Okay. Now, in terms of the platform itself, there's lots and lots of different features that we have embedded inside our software. But just to make it simple and easy, we've kind of categorized them into 3 different buckets. So first of all, the ReadCloud app will become, the one-stop shop, if I can use that word. So all of your classroom content in the one app. And then secondly, inside ReadCloud, teachers and students are connected to one another. And so this is, I would like to highlight this because this is actually one of the key differentiator between us and other ebook platforms out there. So, you might have heard of perhaps, the Campion ebook platform, maybe the Box of Books ebook platform. And so one of the key differentiator between us and our competitors is that we actually create virtual class cloud within ReadCloud. So teachers and students are connected to one another, and then they can actually use their textbooks as a space to collaborate with one another or to create a classroom discussion. And then last but not least, we also provide teachers a whole bunch of curation tools so they can actually modify their favorite textbooks with their own videos or images or text box over and above the existing text. Coming back to our virtual class cloud, because we have that virtual class cloud that's been set up inside ReadCloud, whenever teacher does something inside the text, whenever they annotate or whenever they add various video or text box, they actually could share any of their annotations to either the entire class or just specific users within the class. So from a differentiated learning point of view, this could be really, really handy for some of your students or some teachers out there. So for those of you who are offering IB curriculum in your school, so aside from obviously being able to offer resources that are relevant to the Australian curriculum, we're also able to help you out with some of the IB requirements as well. Now, in terms of who or what that we can supply to you, because of our partnership with Lighthouse Books, obviously, we are able to supply pretty much anything that you're currently using in the classroom. So whatever textbooks that you currently use, send us your list and we'll be happy to do a quote for you in terms of what the digital costing will look like for you. And we can do a bit of a forecast for you as well. And not only the traditional, classroom textbooks like Oxford, Jacaranda, Matilda, and so on and so forth, we can actually also supply you with novels. And so novels is purchased on a one-to-one license, but there is actually a license in perpetuity for novels, which means if your library has iPads that you lend out to students, you can actually populate your library iPads with a whole bunch of novels that will sit there forever inside your iPad, and then you can lend out various iPads to the students, and students will have access to a number of e-novels that they can access through the ReadCloud app, through the school iPads. And then also on top of that, anything that is non-traditional publishers, so like any online subscriptions such as Education Perfect or ClickView, MedSpace, things like this, we can also help you kind of try to get the best subscription fee for these guys as well. So technically, we can become your sort of one-stop shop or your centralized person when it comes to all of your in-classroom resources. And don't forget our vet resources as well, just in case your vocational teachers need it. Okay, so the way ReadCloud works is, as much as possible, we try to integrate with the existing technology that's commonly used in the school. And so on this particular page over here, you see a number of what we call LMS, and so learning management systems. In a lot of Catholic schools in South Australia, I believe you guys use Sector. A lot of the government schools use DayMap. There's probably a couple of independent schools here and there that uses either Canvas or Schoolbox. And so basically, ReadCloud can be integrated within your LMS, whatever LMS that is. And not only that ReadCloud can be integrated within your LMS, if your schools or teachers are used to using things like, Microsoft Teams or Microsoft OneNote to, plan and deliver their lessons, there's also various ways that ReadCloud can be integrated into their day-to-day lesson planning. Again, just to make it all easy for students to actually access their resources from the same app. And then you also see on this page, there's quite a few different timetabling solutions or software. And so, these are some of the, not limited to this, but these are some of the timetable systems that we also integrate with. So, you remember that I said to you, one of the key differentiator between us and our competitor is that we actually create virtual class cloud that connects the teachers and the students in order for them to collaborate. Now, in order to do that, we took an extract of your timetable on a daily basis or a regular basis. And then basically what we read of your timetable is we just learn what classes you run in the school and who the members of the classes are. And therefore, we can provide the relevant students with the relevant content. Now, this could be quite handy as well, especially during the back to school period where students actually move from class to class, or whether, maybe they change subjects. Depending on whether you're book listing or whether it's a book hire model, oftentimes we can actually swap licenses from student to student. So at the moment, typically, if a student actually purchases a digital license from a particular publisher, they're very reluctant on doing any refund or swaps. Whereas dealing with us, they could understand our backend processes, and then a lot of time they're more lenient when we have to swap licenses between one student to another. And so the timetable integration that we have with the school actually will allow us to pick up the changes on a regular basis. And so every day when we do get a new timetable from the school, we can see which student has been deleted out of this class or which student has been added into this class. And then based on that, we work directly with the school to kind of provide that particular new student in the class the relevant content for what they're studying. And then We provide single sign-on as well. And so again, it all depends on how you access ReadCloud, whether you access it inside your LMS with the integration, which obviously doesn't require any further signing in into ReadCloud, or whether you download our native app. So if you are in a BYOD environment where you have no control over what devices the student brings into the school, ReadCloud is available for any type of devices. And so students can even download the ReadCloud app to their mobile if they want to, so that, when they're traveling back into from school, they could actually kind of read their textbooks on the way to school and stuff like that. And then it's also really important that all of our data is locally stored here in Australia. So we have a couple of data servers that is located in Melbourne and Sydney. We're a software company, and we kind of write all our codes from scratch. So we don't really need to purchase any third-party plugin from, anywhere else in the world, which means we don't need to send your data across to anyone abroad. And so if you are comparing platforms, do make sure you ask your providers in terms of who do they actually send your student data to. And then other than that, we're also obviously copyright safe. And so everything that we upload on ReadCloud, the school leaders don't really need to worry about whether something can be, illegally downloaded and redistributed amongst the students in the school. Because, obviously with our agreement with the publishers, we need to make sure that all of their PDFs are copyrighted and safely encrypted inside our platform. And, with anything technology, of course, there is going to be a PD. And so PD will be available and will be guided by the school, whether, how often do you want it? When do you want it? Do you want like a PD for all the teaching stuff, or whether you just want it for small groups and then, you in turn train everyone else. So we'll really, really be guided by you. But, everything is offered here on the table, and they're all free of charge, part of our services to you. Okay. And in terms of support, so if there is anything wrong with the app, or, student doesn't get access, or, something is not working, there is always Lynn, who is in, local to you guys in Adelaide. You can always contact me. And we also have a really strong support team that sits in our Melbourne office. And all you need to do is remember one email address, which is support@ReadCloud. And then we can answer all of your queries via email or phone as well. Okay, so now I'm just about to jump into to give you a bit of a snippet as to how the app actually works. So what you see here in front of you is the ReadCloud app. And this is actually the app that I have downloaded into my MacBook. But the ones that you download into your, Windows laptop or iPad or whatever kind of look and feel very, very similar to this. So this particular app, at the moment, I have logged in and tried to illustrate what a typical student bookshelf might look like. So what you notice here is that on the top left corner, there is a blue cloud symbol that says English, and then followed by humanities, maths, and so on and so forth. So when we say cloud in ReadCloud mimics physical classroom. So when a student logs in, they will see all the different class cloud that they're enrolled in, and the naming convention will be exactly the same as per your timetable naming convention. And then under that category, they will see all the relevant resources that they might need inside the class. And so just to kind of go through what you're seeing here, in the English cloud, you see a novel, Kill a Mockingbird, Romeo and Juliet, which is, there's a lot of free novels out there. So anything that's out of copyright and classic, they're free, and we can populate them inside ReadCloud for you. And there is a link. So this is a web link to Education Perfect, which is an online resource that provides, typically they're quite popular in languages, as well as science and some other subjects. And then as well as your textbooks. So the example that you see here in front of you is the geography textbook, Geography Alive series, which I believe is quite popular in Adelaide, by Jacaranda. Now, you see that for this exact same textbook, there are actually two different format or version. Sorry, let me just drink a couple of water. A little tickle that I can't ignore. Sorry. Okay, so there is this particular PDF, and there is a link to the web version. So these days, a lot of the typical, secondary content publisher like Oxford, Jacaranda, and so on and so forth, aside from publishing print workbook, they actually have also released the same textbook, but online. So there's always an online version of the same text. Now, a lot more schools are starting to kind of push digital pedagogies because online, the online resources that you get is actually a lot more richer, a lot more intuitive, a lot more interactive as well. And so, for example, I know that quite a few maths online publisher, you get quizzes that gives you immediate answers. Teachers can actually collate together like an assignment and assign different level assignments to different students and things like that. So if you're just using the printed text, it's the online resources that you are actually really missing out on. And so that's why a lot of publishers have worked really, really hard on their online platform. And whenever they have two versions of the same text, we will supply you with both versions of the same text, which means PDF and the web version. And on top of that, basically anything else that the teacher would like to add, just to make it easy for the student to access their resources, they can use this little curate your own content button that will allow teachers to actually add various different resources onto the platform to be shared with their students. Now, when you access the PDF inside ReadCloud, obviously it will just open up as a PDF, and I'll talk to you, I'll show you how that works later. But when you access anything that is web-based, so all the online interactivities, as soon as I click on this Geography Alive Web, it will actually open up an internet browser within the ReadCloud window, like as you can see here. And it doesn't actually require me to log in or remember what website to go to. It will just log me straight in, and it will take me to the relevant text that I need to be on. Now, this type of compatibility, if I could use that word, is what we call LTI compatibility. So LTI stands for Learning Tools Interoperability, where a lot of the educational technologies out there create a particular standard so that various software and platforms can talk to one another. And so we have 3 different publishers that are LTI compatible with us at the moment, which will log you straight in. And they are Jacaranda, Education Perfect, and Matilda. There are 2 others that I believe are coming on board this year. And so I think Nelson Cengage are coming on board this year or next year. And Oxford Digital is also coming on board next year. So with those, the ones that are LTI compatible, there is no further need for you to log in. It will just log you straight in. For the ones that are non-LTI compatible, what happens is it will fire up an internet browser, and you just simply put your username and password in, and then the app will just save that for you, just like the browser save your user credential for you. Okay. Now, when you open up a PDF, for the first time, it will download the PDF onto your devices. And so the good thing about using the ReadCloud app is that in the future, once you open up a PDF once, you don't actually need any more internet connectivity to access the same PDF textbook. So this could be quite handy, if internet bandwidth perhaps is quite limited in the school, or if the student lives in an area where internet is patchy. So, at the very least, they could access the PDF version of the text. Now, anyone can access PDF file using a lot of free software out there, like an Adobe Reader or something. But the benefit of using ReadCloud is, first of all, there's quite a lot of tools that are embedded inside the ReadCloud e-reading, inside ReadCloud e-reader that might be helpful for some students. So for example, when a student highlight a certain word, you can see there is this black learning toolbar that pops up. And so just really quickly from left to right, this one here is the ability for students to create annotations. And so they could create study notes while studying, and then all of the annotations will sit in one place. And they could export all of that really, really easily to use that to study for like a topic test or something like that. And then they also have a dictionary lookup over here. And then they also have a text-to-speech functionality and also the immersive reader. And I'll go through some example of what the immersive reader does in a minute. So yeah, so this one here is the dictionary lookup. So obviously, whatever word you highlight, it will just define the word for you. Now, the immersive reader is a really, really powerful tool for students, especially those who might have some extra needs. So the first thing it's able to do is just down here where there is a play button, it can actually, you can highlight an entire paragraph or entire page. And then by accessing the immersive reader, you can access the text-to-speech functionality. So it will actually read it out loud to you. And you can also adjust the voice speed. You can adjust the text size, to make it bigger or smaller. And for students with dyslexia, for example, there's a few dyslexic fonts. And also they can change the background color theme to make it easier for them to read. And then here in the middle section, your literacy coaches can actually use this to separate the syllabus. They could highlight, just the nouns or just the verbs, and then you can also put the labels on top of the nouns or on top of the verb. And then last but not least, this could be quite handy because I know there's quite a lot of schools out there. I mean, pre-COVID, we used to have a lot of exchange students kind of program, or, you might be learning a particular language in the school. So the immersive reader can actually translate the entire paragraph into just over 60 different languages. And with some languages where it's available, you can also have those paragraphs read out loud to you in those languages as well. And so there might be, you might be in an area that's very, very multicultural, and you might have students whose English is a second language, and so they can probably use this to kind of help them comprehend their text as well. Okay. All right. So that's the immersive reader. Now, this particular screen over here is, I just wanted to talk to you about our annotation feature. So again, like I mentioned before, any student or teacher can actually highlight something or a certain part of the text, and then you can put an annotation in it. Now, from a teaching point of view, you can actually create study notes. You can put your teaching notes in here, but you can also use this particular feature as a collaboration or discussion feature in your classroom. And so when you add any particular annotation, this little eye icon will tell you whether it's for your own eye or private, or you can actually share that particular annotation with the entire class cloud. Or over here, there should be another button that says users, which means you can actually share an annotation with any particular users within the class. And so again, just coming back to that whole tool about differentiated learning. So again, just something that really differentiates us from our competitor is that whatever annotation that the teacher has added inside the book, they can actually share that with specific students that might require some extra help inside the classroom. Okay, so then they can just sort of add the annotation and click the relevant people. And then when the student sees that something has been annotated, for example, over here, they can click on the highlighted paragraph, and then they could see that there is this little comment icon. And when they click on that comment icon, they could then just write their comments over here. So, if the teacher said provide some examples, they could post their examples over here, or the teachers might ask other questions. They can actually participate in a classroom discussion over here. And so that actually kills two birds with one stone, because, you would probably know this, but, teenagers needs to be taught how to kind of respond appropriately and professionally, when they're not actually chatting online with their friends. So like, in a more professional manner. So that's that. And then the next bit over here, what I wanted to show you is the various tools that teachers will have in order to further curate their resources. And so there's various different elements up here that the teachers can use, where they could drop layers of specific elements onto the text. And so, for example, they can actually use this to do a hand drawing annotation. They could actually drop a video on the text. They could also drop a text box on the textbook as well. And so when you click on adding a video, for example, you can then upload the video that you have pre-recorded for yourself, and then you can actually browse the content and just upload it into the textbook. Or you can just simply copy paste a URL from perhaps YouTube, and then you can sort of embed that onto the page. And a lot of the time, the way teachers have used this is, if there is a particular picture that, you might think, oh, it doesn't really add value to my class today, I would really love to show this video. A teacher can actually just kind of drop a video, overlay the text, and then they can share that video to either the entire class, and then, advise the kids to perhaps read this text, watch this video the night before they come into class, and then, they could actually access all that in here. And also, there's only one more sort of function that I wanted to talk about today, which is our copy link function. So, to my earlier point before about various different LMS integration, if you use the copy link function, you can actually copy the location of this particular page, and then you can embed the link to this page on any of your lesson plan. So when the student clicks on that link, it will actually just fire up the ReadCloud app, and it will take them directly to the page that they need to be on today for this particular class. Okay, so I know there's probably a lot of information, I get that. But, if you wanted me to kind of talk through it in more detail, I'm more than happy to kind of, talk to you a little bit more about it. But what we would love you to do actually is just to give it a try. And so we provide complimentary trial, and, Lynn and I, we're organizing a couple of trials that's happening at the same time now with a few South Australian schools. And so if you wish to be involved in this, just to kind of really assess the platform before you launch it next year, so that's all complimentary for you. So just go to readcloud.com/trial, or get in touch with Lynn, and then we can definitely organize a trial for you. There are terms and conditions that you need to abide by to do with the trial, but we can discuss that with you in person when or if you decide to take up the trial. So yeah, any questions? I might just stop sharing my screen.
Yeah. No, it doesn't look like we've got any questions, Irene.
Okay, cool.
What we could say is, if there's anybody who would like follow-up information or even a recording of this presentation, just drop me an email, and I'll make sure that you get it. Maybe it's something that you can share with your colleagues at school. And as Irene mentioned, you can have the opportunity to have a complimentary trial at the school, or even another Zoom meeting, another Zoom presentation just for your school. We do have one question here, Irene. Can students also add study notes or just teachers?
Yeah, I can see that, Leanne. Thanks for your question. So yes, absolutely. So students can highlight any part of their text, and they can add annotation, and they can just make the annotation private to themselves.
Yeah, good feature to have.
Yeah, definitely. Costings. Okay, so yes, so I don't think I mentioned about costing in the presentation, so sorry about that. So basically, the ReadCloud app is normally $15 per student per annum. However, working with Lighthouse Books, we've decided that you can get the ReadCloud app absolutely complimentary. It's on us. If you agree to commit to purchasing all of your resources from the Lighthouse Books or KW for a duration of probably 3 or 4 years, depending on what we can negotiate with your school. So yeah, so the ReadCloud app fee is complimentary. So the only other costing you need to probably be aware of is just the textbook digital licenses. And so compare this with other digital providers. All of our digital license fee is set by the publishers. So everyone will probably offer you the same.
Mm. And you would have to pay for that anyway, whether you had ReadCloud or not.
Correct. Yeah.
Do you have any other questions, Leanne? Oh, good. All right. If you'd like any more information, don't hesitate to ask me. And thanks very much for attending today.
Yeah. All right. So if there's no other question, I might just wrap it up here. And as we mentioned before, we do have the recording. So Lynn, maybe just send out an email to everybody that you invited to today's meeting who couldn't make it. Yeah.
Sure.
See if they would like the recording. Okay.
Well, thank you, Irene, and
no
thank you,
problem.
everybody. Okay. Bye for now.
Bye.
See you.